Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by asking you something powerful. What if I told you that one person, yes, just one person, has the power to change the course of nations? That one voice, one decision, one action can either destroy or redefine the bond between two of the greatest powers on earth, the United States and India. When I say one person can change everything, I'm not just giving you a motivational slogan. I'm giving you the truth of how the world actually works. One voice, one moment of courage or one moment of fear can alter the direction of nations, companies, families, entire generations. Think about it. When we hear a phrase like US-India relations destroyed by one Indian, it sounds dramatic, it sounds impossible, but what it really reveals is the raw, undeniable power that a single human being carries. That's the power you have. The same energy that can break trust can also build empires. We underestimate ourselves every day. We think, who am I? I'm just one person. And that belief, that small, quiet self-doubt, is exactly what keeps most people from ever realizing the magnitude of their influence. Every world leader, every innovator, every person who's ever shaped history, they all started out as just one person. The difference is they decided to own their power instead of avoiding it. They stopped waiting for someone else to fix things. They stopped saying, it's not my responsibility. They looked in the mirror and said, if something's going to change, it starts with me. That's leadership. That's what changes destinies. See, the truth is we're all walking ripples of impact. You say something harsh to a friend, maybe you think it's nothing, but that moment might plant a seed of anger, and that anger might ripple into their work, their relationships, their family. On the other hand, one moment of kindness, one word of encouragement, one honest apology, that too can ripple out and heal things you'll never even see. That's why you've got to live consciously. Because every moment, every choice is a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. People often talk about power like it's something outside of them, like it's in the White House or in Parliament or in a billionaire's bank account. But let me tell you something. The greatest power in this world is not positional, it's personal. It's your ability to make a decision. That's what separates the people who destroy from the people who build. Decisions shape destiny. A single decision rooted in fear can destroy relationships, trust, and opportunity. But a single decision grounded in truth and courage can change everything for the better. So when we hear stories about one person destroying international relations, don't just see the politics. See the mirror, because that same potential for destruction lives in every one of us. But so does the potential for creation. You can use your words to criticize or to inspire. You can use your energy to divide or to unite. You can use your influence to manipulate or to uplift. That's the choice you face every single day. And the world is watching, not the governments, not the media. Fey Life itself is watching what you do with your influence. You might think your voice doesn't matter, but someone out there is modeling their behavior after you right now. Someone is watching how you handle pressure, how you handle success, how you handle failure, and you're teaching them not with words, but with example. So don't ever say, I'm just one person. That's an excuse for the powerless. You are not powerless. You are potent. You are a walking cause, an effect machine. The question is, what are you causing? What kind of effect are you creating? Because whether you realize it or not, you're already changing the world every single day. The power of one person is not a myth. It's the heartbeat of history. It's the whisper that starts a revolution. It's the decision that turns enemies into allies. And that one person could be you. Every single decision you make, every thought, every reaction, every word that leaves your mouth sends out a ripple into the world. Most people think their choices are small, meaningless, invisible. But let me tell you something. There is no such thing as an insignificant choice. Every action plants a seed, and that seed grows into something, a connection, a conflict, a transformation. The universe doesn't ignore the energy you release, it amplifies it. That's what I call the ripple effect. It's not philosophy, it's physics of the soul. You see, we live in a world where people love to look at the big picture. They talk about governments, economies, politics, power, but all of those things, every empire, every alliance, every movement, they all started as a single decision made by one human being. The relationship between two countries doesn't rise or fall overnight. It happens through a series of ripples, one statement, one negotiation, one betrayal, one act of trust. That's how reality unfolds. The same thing happens in your personal life. You don't lose a relationship in one day. You don't build a business in 1 week. You don't destroy trust in one moment. It's the ripple of small decisions repeated again and again that either create something beautiful or break something sacred. So the question is, what kind of ripples are you sending out? Because whether you know it or not, you're influencing the people around you. The energy you carry becomes the atmosphere of your home, your work, your community. You walk into a room and without saying a word, people feel you. If you carry frustration, they feel tension. If you carry gratitude, they feel peace. If you carry passion, they feel possibility. That's how powerful you are. You don't even need to speak to create an effect. You are the effect. Now here's the truth most people never face. Your ripple doesn't stop with you. It keeps moving. The person you smile at today might treat someone else with kindness tomorrow because of that small moment. The person you disrespect might carry that pain and pass it on to someone else. You're either creating a chain reaction of hope or a cycle of harm. That's why awareness is everything. When you become aware that every choice matters, you stop living on autopilot. You start living intentionally. You stop reacting and you start responding. You stop blaming and you start creating. Look, we've all made mistakes. We've all said or done things that send out negative ripples. But you don't fix it by drowning in guilt. You fix it by changing your frequency. You fix it by choosing differently today. That's how power works. The same way one destructive act can weaken trust between nations, one conscious act of integrity can begin to rebuild it. The same way one lie can destroy a friendship, one moment of truth can heal it. And that's the beauty of the ripple effect. It's never too late to change it. Because as long as you're breathing, you're still sending waves into the world. You can decide right now to create ripples of strength, gratitude, and growth that will travel farther than you'll ever see. You can decide that every word you speak will lift someone higher. You can decide that every challenge you face will be fuel for others to rise. That's what it means to live awake, to live powerful, to live on purpose. You are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean, moving, shaping, creating, and every ripple you make is rewriting the world around you. Power without integrity is like a ship without a compass. It might look strong on the surface, but it's directionless, dangerous, and destined to sink. Integrity isn't just about honesty, it's about alignment. When your words, actions, and intentions move in the same direction, when that alignment breaks, trust collapses. And when trust collapses, even the most powerful relationships, nations, and organizations crumble like dust. You can have all the intelligence, money, or influence in the world, but if people can't trust your character, you have nothing. That's why integrity is not just a virtue. It's the foundation of all lasting power. Look around at history. Every great empire, every great leader, every great movement, they rise because of vision, but they endure because of integrity. And every downfall, every betrayal, every collapse, it begins the moment integrity is traded for ego. That's what destroys bonds between nations like the US and India. It's not just policy or power struggles. It's when integrity is lost in the pursuit of self-interest. One person makes a decision not from truth, but from pride. One leader values their image more than their impact, and suddenly, the trust that took decades to build is gone in a heartbeat. But let me tell you something powerful. This lesson isn't just about politics. It's about your life, because every relationship you have, personal, professional, spiritual, is built on the same invisible currency, trust. And trust is built through integrity. When you say you'll do something and you do it, you deposit trust. When you speak the truth, even when it's hard, you deposit trust. When you show up for people, when you admit your mistakes, when you stay consistent, you deposit trust. That's how relationships, companies, and countries thrive. But when you lie, when you manipulate, when you choose convenience over conscience, you make a withdrawal, and eventually that account runs empty. People think power is about control, but real power, the kind that moves hearts and changes the world, comes from credibility. You can't demand respect, you earn it. You can't force loyalty, you inspire it. And the only way you inspire it is through consistent integrity. That means being the same person in private that you are in public. It means doing the right thing when no one is watching. It means valuing truth over temporary advantage. Because integrity is not about being perfect. It's about being real. You see, integrity gives you freedom. When you live in alignment, you don't have to hide. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to manipulate outcomes. You stand in your truth, and that truth gives you strength. The most magnetic people, the ones who command presence the moment they walk into a room, they radiate authenticity. You can feel it. You trust them before they even speak, because integrity is energy. You can sense it. And here's what's even more powerful. Integrity attracts integrity. When you lead with it, you give permission for others to do the same. When you choose it, you raise the standard of every environment you're part of. That's how families change. That's how companies evolve. That's how nations heal. So don't chase influence, build integrity. Don't seek to impress, seek to align. Because when your values and your actions match, you become unshakable. You become the kind of person people believe in, follow, and fight for. That's how leaders are made. That's how bridges between nations are restored. And that's how your life becomes more than success. It becomes significance. Every time destruction happens, a hidden opportunity is born. When something falls apart, whether it's a relationship between people, a partnership between nations, or a connection within yourself, it's easy to focus on the loss. It's easy to say, it's over, it's broken, it's destroyed. But what if I told you that within every moment of division lies the invitation to create a greater vision? That every breakdown is secretly a breakthrough waiting for someone bold enough to see it that way. That's what true leaders do. They don't stare at the ashes, they start building again. The world loves to point fingers when things go wrong. We see countries blame each other, people criticize one another, and families turn cold because of ego. But division is not the real enemy. The real enemy is blindness, the inability to see beyond the problem. Division happens when people stop listening, when they let fear become their guide instead of vision. It happens when leaders forget that their purpose isn't to be right, but to be effective. And yet, in those moments of chaos, In those moments when everything seems to collapse, life gives us a gift, the opportunity to transform conflict into connection, to turn destruction into direction. Think about it. Every great transformation in history began in the middle of chaos. Nations rebuilt after wars. Companies rose stronger after failures. People found their deepest purpose after heartbreak. Why? Because pain reveals what's essential. It strips away illusion. It forces you to ask what truly matters. What am I fighting for? Who do I want to become? When relationships, personal or international, reach the edge of collapse, that's not the end. It's a signal. It's life saying, you've outgrown the old way. It's time to evolve. And evolution doesn't come through anger. It comes through awareness. Division is easy. It's what happens when we react. Vision is hard. It's what happens when we choose to respond. Anyone can destroy. It takes no courage to tear down, no wisdom to criticize, no power to divide. But it takes greatness to unify. It takes emotional intelligence to see through pain and still believe in connection. It takes heart to say, let's build something new. When everyone else is still pointing at what went wrong, the truth is, unity doesn't mean the absence of conflict. It means the presence of purpose. It means you stop fighting people and start fighting for the vision. You stop proving your ego and start proving your growth. You stop seeing the other side as the enemy and start seeing them as part of the solution. That's when division transforms into direction. That's when chaos becomes creation. When the world sees destruction, I see design. When the world sees brokenness, I see blueprint. Because every fall plants the seed for a greater rise. The question is, are you willing to see it? Are you willing to be the one who stands in the storm and says, this is not the end. It's the beginning of something stronger. That's how nations rebuild. That's how relationships heal. That's how lives transform. So stop seeing division as failure and start seeing it as feedback. It's showing you where you lost alignment, where you stopped communicating, where fear replaced love. Use it. Let it fuel your next move. Because from division, you can build vision. From breakdown, you can create breakthrough. From destruction, you can design destiny. That's the power of transformation. That's the gift hidden in chaos. And that's what separates those who merely survive from those who rise and lead. Blame is easy. It's the default reaction when things go wrong. Our minds crave someone to point at, someone to hold responsible, someone to make sense of the pain. It was him. I was her. It was them. But here's the truth. Blame keeps you stuck. It might make you feel right for a moment, but it steals your power in the long run. Responsibility, on the other hand, is the gateway to transformation. The moment you stop blaming and start owning, everything changes. The power shifts back into your hands. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the architect of outcome. When people heard that, "On Indian destroyed US-India relations," what did they do? They pointed, they judged, they argued, they found comfort in accusation. But no one asked the deeper question, how did we all contribute to this? How does system, a mindset, a culture of reaction instead of reflection allow one person to hold that much power? That's where responsibility begins, not in the noise of blame, but in the silence of awareness. Responsibility doesn't mean fault. It means ownership. It means you're willing to say, even if it wasn't my mistake, I'm still willing to make it right. That's leadership. That's strength. Because anyone can complain, but only the courageous take responsibility. You can't control how others act, but you can control how you respond, and your response determines whether the story becomes a tragedy or a triumph. Think about it. Every powerful transformation in history started when someone took responsibility beyond their own comfort. When someone said, I didn't create this mess, but I'll be the one to clean it. That's what separates leaders from the crowd. Leaders don't wait for someone else to fix the problem. They step forward. They take ownership. They look at the chaos and say, this ends with me, because they understand something most people don't. Power and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. Blame will always make you feel emotionally justified. It feeds your ego. It gives you a story where you're the victim and someone else is the villain. But it also chains you to that story forever. You can't grow from what you don't own. The moment you blame, you hand your control to the very thing you despise. Responsibility gives that control back. It says, yes, this happened, but I choose what comes next. The same applies to relationships, families, businesses, and even nations. When leaders blame each other, trust collapses. When citizens blame governments, progress freezes. But when each side takes ownership, when each person says, what's my role in this? That's when true power returns. Because real change doesn't come from accusation, it comes from awareness, accountability, and aligned action. So what does this mean for you? It means stop waiting for others to change. Stop saying, if only they acted differently. Start asking, what can I do now? Because responsibility isn't about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about creating them. It's about stepping into discomfort and realizing that leadership begins not when things are easy, but when things are broken. When you take responsibility, something magical happens, blame loses its grip. And clarity takes its place. You see possibilities where others see problems. You start creating solutions instead of stories. You stop reacting and start responding with purpose. That's when life starts working I for you instead of as against you. So don't waste another day pointing fingers. Take the mirror, look yourself in the eyes and say, it starts with me, it ends with me. That's not weakness. That's mastery. Because the people who take responsibility don't just change their lives, they change the world. Rebuilding after destruction is one of the hardest things a human being can do, but it's also one of the most powerful. It takes courage to admit that something has been broken. It takes humility to accept that healing won't happen overnight. And it takes heart to show compassion to the very people or situations that once caused pain. But that's how transformation begins. That's how nations rebuild after conflict, how relationships mend after betrayal, and how individuals rise after failure. The same power that once caused damage can be redirected to create strength if we choose courage and compassion over pride and resentment. When something falls apart, the natural instinct is to close off, to protect ourselves, to armor up. But here's the truth. Healing never happens behind walls. It happens through connection. When trust between people or countries shatters, it doesn't heal through punishment. It heals through understanding. That doesn't mean ignoring the past or pretending nothing happened. It means facing it, owning it, and deciding to build something better, something wiser, something deeper. Rebuilding is not about going back to what was. It's about creating what could be. Courage is the starting point. Courage means stepping into the uncomfortable space where solutions live. It means being the first to say, I'm willing to talk. It means extending a hand when every instinct says, hold back. You see, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the mastery of it. It's acting in spite of fear. And the moment you do that, you shift the energy. You break the cycle of silence and resentment, and you create movement where there was stagnation. Because nothing changes until someone takes that first brave step forward. But courage alone isn't enough. You need compassion. Compassion is what softens the edges of pride. It's what allows you to see the human behind the mistake, the intention behind the action, the pain behind the anger. It doesn't excuse the past, it understands it. And that understanding opens the door for real change. When people feel seen and understood, they open up, they stop defending, they start listening. That's when dialogue begins. And dialogue is the foundation of every rebuild, personal or political. The truth is, rebuilding is messy. It's not linear. There are days you'll want to quit, days you'll question whether it's even worth it. But those are the moments that define you, because real growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in friction. Every brick you lay in rebuilding trust, every moment you choose empathy over ego, you're creating something unbreakable. You're not just repairing what was lost. You're evolving into something greater. We live in a world that's obsessed with speed. Everyone wants quick results, instant peace, fast healing. But rebuilding takes time, patience, and persistence. It's the slow, deliberate process of choosing the higher road every single day. Choosing to speak truth instead of bitterness. Choosing to act with integrity instead of impulse. Choosing to build bridges instead of walls. It's hard, yes, but it's also the only way forward. So when you look at what's been destroyed, a connection, a dream, a partnership, even a nation's trust, don't see the rubble as the end. See it as raw material. See it as proof that there's still something worth fighting for. Because within that brokenness lies the potential for something more authentic, more resilient, more meaningful than before. Rebuilding through courage and compassion isn't weakness. It's mastery. It's leadership. It's power with purpose. Anyone can destroy. It takes true greatness to rebuild. And when you rise again, not from ego, but from empathy, not from pride, but from love, you don't just restore what was lost. You create a legacy that will never break again.